Well, good morning, everybody. Today I have my emotional health presentation at the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, and I wanted to do a run through. And since I'm not going to be recording myself at the event, I thought I would do my practice run for you guys, and so I'll publish this. And I need to kind of tweak it a little bit, see how long it runs. I have 15 minutes, so we're going to start right now. And good morning, everybody. My name's Rob Wakely, and you may also, some of you know me on YouTube as Travels with Dottie. I'm a retired licensed professional counselor, among other careers that I've had, and I'm here to talk to you not about mental health. I'm here to talk to you about emotional health. And I make that distinction because when we start talking about mental health, so often we think, well, I don't have a diagnosis. I don't need treatment. Mental health implies some kind of diagnosis. Do I really need to be hearing this or not? But emotional health, who doesn't want emotional health? We all do. We want emotional well-being. So I'm going to talk about the things that have been meaningful to me, both in my practice helping other people, and while I've helped other people, it's helped me too. So I'm going to talk about those things that are near and dear to my house. And I'll warn you right here that there isn't anything I'm going to say that I haven't stolen from someone else, somewhere else, in either literature or things people have said to me. So if I start talking to you about something I've heard that before, well, you probably have, because these aren't original thoughts. There may be somewhat original ways of presenting them. So we're nomads. Most of us are nomads. I've been a nomad since I retired December 1st, 2021, and I love being a nomad. Why am I a nomad? I'm a nomad, I'm going to guess, for the same reason many, if not all of you are. I'm a nomad because I am seeking a life of joy and peace. And let me tell you, my friends, I think I've found it. I've experienced more joy and peace in the past 3 years than I have in, the preceding 62. And not that I've had a miserable time in my life. I've had good times, but this lifestyle really, really suits me. There's a story and I retired early. I retired as soon as I could possibly collect Social Security at 62. Despite all the warnings, you have to save all this much money. You shouldn't do it at 62. You should wait until you're 67 or 70 or whatever. All these things, all these pressures to wait. And I heard a story, and I don't know where the story came from, but it was a woman. I repeated the story on my YouTube channel recently. And the woman said she worked with a guy for years and years and years, and he was preparing for his retirement. He was building an ocean-going sailboat at his house in his driveway. And he worked on this thing for years, and he finally got it ready to go. And he worked there 30 years, and he retired. And it was ready to go. And the day after retirement, he died. He had a sudden massive coronary, and he died. And the woman that's telling the story said, that's the lesson that I learned there is I'm not going to die. I just realized, I think that's from Nomadland. I'm not going to die with a sailboat in my driveway. It's a metaphor. And it's funny, I just realized it was from Nomadland. I need to modify that and give it the proper attribution. But right after that, I got a comment on that video, and I'm going to read it, and I'm not going to read the person's name, but the comment is as follows. Hi, Rob, Dottie, and George. I had a coworker who waited until she was 70 to retire. We gave her a huge party at work, and the very next day she had a massive heart attack and passed. She didn't even enjoy her retirement for one day. So sad. Don't wait until it's too late to enjoy your life. Wow. So from a story, maybe in a movie, to a real life thing, this happens frequently. And certainly I was going to take steps to ensure it didn't happen to me. I didn't have big savings. I wasn't prepared for a traditional retirement. So what do? I'm going to talk to you about something. I'm going to talk to you about the concept of everybody, I bet, has heard this phrase. Have you heard this phrase? Think outside the box, right? Well, what does that really mean? People think it means, well, you need to think creatively, because we're here at work. Rob, you need to think outside the box, think creative. That's not what it means. That was never the intent. I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from a puzzle, and the puzzle's called the 9 dots. And if you can picture this in your head, 3 rows of evenly spaced dots on top of each other where it forms what looks like a box, right? 9 dots. And the puzzle is using only 4 straight lines, draw through all 9 dots. And people do it and they can't do it. No matter what they try, there's always 1 dot that isn't covered by a line. So it takes 5 lines instead of 4. But the solution is really simple, because what people do is they go to the edges of the box and do their lines. And they make up a rule in their own head that I'm not supposed to go beyond the imaginary box that I see. No one told them that, but people do it. I did it when I tried to solve it. But if you go beyond the box and do big long lines at angles and a big triangle, you can solve the problem by eliminating the rule that isn't a rule that you made up in your head. That's a big deal in life. And that's the first thing that as a therapist I learned with my clients, that people carry around rules that they're often not conscious that they have, that cause problems for them in life, and often repetitive problems. I've got some personal I got 1 or 2 personal examples and some examples from my clients. The first one's a personal one. And I fought a weight problem my whole life, from being a little kid all the way through adulthood, fighting weight. And I had this rule that I really wasn't conscious of until I was like 50 years old. Here's the rule. And I bet how many of you had parents that grew up in the Depression? And my father gave me this rule, this belief, this law: clean your plate, eat everything on your plate, don't waste food. And he got it from his parents during the Depression, where getting food was serious business. And wasting food was you don't waste a morsel. So I had this rule that operated on a subconscious level, that I would eat not until I was full. I would eat until everything in front of me was gone. And that stuck with me for life. So when you develop a habit of not stopping eating when you're full, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get fat. I finally figured that out when I was in my 50s and broke the habit slowly over time. Some people have from childhood, I deserve to be punished, particularly people that were in abusive parents or caregivers that were physically or emotionally abusive. And kids, they trust me on this. Kids default to, it's my fault. I must be wrong. I must deserve this. And if you carry that idea that you deserve to be punished in life as an adult, you can imagine the difficulties and the things that you put up with from other people that you don't need to put up with. Another one is, I'll never be successful. How about this one? You can't live comfortably unless you have a permanent home. That's one that, hey, that's a biggie. And guess what? We most of us here know that's a lie. That's not true. How about, you can't live in a car and a van, or RV life is too expensive? those are, when I learned them, the phrase was called life. These are life commandments. These are things that get so embedded in you that they drive your behavior going forward. And until you get visibility to them, there's not much you can do about it, right? Next thing that I learned, and I learned this from Walt Whitman, a quote from Walt Whitman: be curious, not judgmental. And I realized that judgmental people are often cruel. They're often bullies. And curious people are often kind and gentle. And there's an easy way to tell the difference. Judgmental people don't ask questions. They already know. Curious people ask questions. And when I discovered that, I said, well, I can tell the difference in these people. So that's useful. And also, what do I want to be? I want to be curious because I want to be kind. Next thing that I learned. This is a phrase that I didn't make up. It was given to me and I love it. Expectations are resentments under construction. I'm going to repeat that. Expectations are resentments under construction. We all know what resentments are and how much they hurt us. And chronic resentments hurt us the most. And at the root of every resentment is an unmet expectation. And we can't completely avoid these things in life. Here's what we can avoid, though, and this was the linchpin to this idea, was we have unreasonable expectations, or at least I do. And if I can identify unreasonable expectations, I can go, well, I'm not comfortable with expecting that, so I'm not going to have that expectation. If you don't have the expectation, you're not going to get the resentment. It's that simple. Let me give you an example of that, a simple one that I found out. I lived 5 miles from work before I retired, and it easily would take me 15 minutes to get to work, no problem. So every day, I would leave 15 minutes before I was due at work. And at least half the days, the traffic would be heavy and I would get tense and I would get angry at people that are driving too slow or lights that are too long. And I spent by the time I got to work on like half the days, I was so full of tension and resentment towards other people on the road, and just, it's terrible being in Northern Virginia. The traffic is off. I had all kinds of complaints. I would walk in the door in a bad mood. Now, think about this. If that was happening, is my expectation that I would be on time leaving 15 minutes early every day a reasonable expectation? Obviously no. So I changed it up. I left 30 minutes early. 30 minutes instead of 15 minutes before my work time. And even on the worst day, I was early for work. Guess what happened? I would listen to books on tape. I would listen to my satellite radio. I'd listen to podcasts. And it was a joyous thing because I didn't have a care in the world other than driving. I didn't care if it got busy or if I was stuck in traffic, because I didn't worry about being on time. My expectation was reasonable. It was reasonable. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. And I did this last year, and it's worth doing again. There's a Apple TV series called Ted Lasso. And if you've never heard of it, it's okay. I'm going to set this up. Ted Lasso is a coach, an athletic coach. It doesn't matter what he coaches, but he's known for saying the right thing at the right time. He's gotten a reputation well within the series that he's a great mind, and there are high expectations for what comes out of his mouth. And the team, it was the middle of a game. They were losing. It was a big game, and everyone in the room was really, all the players were really dejected. And here's what he said. You know what I want to mess around with? The belief that I matter regardless of what I do or do not achieve. Or the belief that we all deserve to be loved, whether we've been hurt or maybe we've hurt someone else. Or what about the belief of hope? Yeah, that's what I want to mess with. Believing that things can get better, that I can get better, that we will get better together. Oh man, to believe in yourself, to believe in one another, that's fundamental to being alive. And look, if you can do that, if each of you can truly do that, can nobody rip that apart. It's a beautiful thing. Just remember that your value in this world is a gift, and it's not dependent on what you achieve or don't achieve. The job that you have, the spouse that you have, the children that you have, the awards that you've gotten, it's not dependent on that. It's given to you the day you're born. Your worth and your value is already there. You already have it. It's not dependent on what you do or do not achieve. And we all deserve to be loved. That's true. How much and who you're loved by is up to your behavior, but you still deserve to be loved. Thank you.